up the table. We'll have to wait and see. But no doubt about it, Joao Felix has been doing a tremendous job. Another person that's been doing a tremendous job, continues to do a tremendous job for ESPN FC, James Olley, who looks very warmed up here at Stamford Bridge. Well, James Olley, welcome to the show. I mean, it took 10 minutes extra for the game to begin because of business going on at Fulham Road. I went to uni near there, so I know too well how annoying that street can be. But finally, Chelsea fans can celebrate, James Olley. Give me your reaction to this really good victory against what was a perfect Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, it's a massive night for Graham Potter, obviously. It felt quite a cathartic night, I think, for everyone in here, really. Just sort of, this is a club that's quite used to getting to Champions League quarterfinals, obviously won it only 2 years ago. But the way that the players celebrated at full time and a lot of the fans staying, to really revel in those celebrations, I think it says a lot about just what this club's been through the last 2 or 3 months, really since the World Cup and the dismal run of form that they've been on. And I think what will please Graham Potter is they stuck to their principles. They still tried to play their football. They didn't let the adversity in front of goal that threatened to continue again here get to them in any way. They didn't panic, even though they were behind in the tie. And I thought they thoroughly deserved this victory. And it's too early to say it's a turning point for them, but you can see the patterns, you can see the confidence just starting to come back, and this is back-to-back wins for the first time in October, and that'll be huge for them now in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, the first time this year, and multiple goals for Chelsea as well, which is also a very good thing. James, we asked Tom Hamilton this earlier, and I want to ask you again. We noticed, obviously, the strategy, the formation to kick off, very Thomas Tuchel-esque, I guess, 3-4-3 with Ben Chilwell going in front of Cucurella as well, and this line of Kai Havertz on one in the middle, Raheem Sterling on the other with Joao Felix. What did you make of this formation, this strategy, specifically just because you were right there looking at how they were moving and how Potter maneuvers this with this very talented, albeit very deep squad?
Yeah, I mean, the wing-backs were the key to the game, really. I think I thought Ben Chilwell was outstanding in particular today. Really set the tone, aggressive in the tackle, was frequently in dangerous positions and really caused Dortmund problems. And Dortmund never really got to grips with the overloads in the wide areas. And, when you factor in the interplay with Felix and Havertz in particular, I thought both those were very good tonight. It was too much for Dortmund to handle. I mean, I do think, when you think about the Thomas Tuchel era, he used to bemoan the fact quite a lot that he didn't have Chilwell and Reece James through injury. They didn't have players in the squad, particularly on the right-hand side, who could fill in. You think of even Christian Pulisic was playing out on the left wing in that wing-back system for a while under Tuchel. So, he was square pegs and round holes and all of that. So Chilwell and James were absolutely pivotal to Tuchel, and it was one of the reasons why he lost his job, that he didn't have those two available. It could prove equally important for Potter moving forward, because it really gave them a dynamic edge tonight that Dortmund couldn't cope with.
I was going to ask you also about his substitutions. They seem to be judged pretty well as well. There's the Conor Gallagher one seems key as well. I mean, what's the sort of reception like from the people there on the ground? Are they, do you feel like behind? Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, it was subdued, I would say, for one or two. I think when Enzo Fernandez came off as a Zakaria, I think there were one or two just to the right of the press box here who were sort of thinking, okay, all right, well, we're winning, so we'll go with this. I think if it had gone south, that would have been perhaps raised as a potential reason for it. But I mean, how Felix coming off, I thought was a little surprising as well, given that of how well he was playing. He didn't look too pleased himself to be coming off. I thought when the ball went up with his number, you could see he was disappointment etched right across his face. But I mean, look, these changes work tonight, and really, if you go back to the Leeds game on Saturday as well, I wouldn't say they shut up shop, but they certainly look to protect what they have. I think Graham Potter knows how fragile the confidence is at the moment. He obviously knows the dreadful run of form they've been on and the effect that can have on this group of players who are still, many of them, still trying to bed into a new team. But I mean, look, Dortmund as well. I think we should probably mention the fact that they're missing two of their key attacking players. Lewis, as you said there, the bus was late. They lost Julian Brandt after 5 minutes. Pretty much everything that could have gone wrong. Obviously, didn't have their first choice goalkeeper either here. either. So pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for them. And I thought Jude Bellingham had a bit of an off night as well. He's obviously a hugely talented player, and you expect him to have a long and glittering career. But this isn't a night I think he'll look back on with any fondness. And when Dortmund were missing a few players like that, they needed the Bellinghams to step up and really own it, and he didn't manage to do that tonight.
Yeah, I think he felt the knock from Cucurella early on, and I think that didn't really alleviate it at all. Speaking of Jude Bellingham, James Olley, here's a fun question for both of you. Tom, I'll ask you first, and James, you jump in. Tom Hamilton, finish this sentence for me. The next Champions League match Jude Bellingham plays will be for...
I'm going to say Liverpool. But
Ooh.
maybe, let's have a think. Yeah, probably next season if they continue, like if they build on what happened on Sunday. But I think he'd be perfect. I think he works so well with Klopp. I think he'd be absolutely brilliant in regenerating that midfield. I think if they can find the means to get him, I think he'd be a hard sign.
I love it. James Olley.
Yeah, there's a lot of confidence at Liverpool that they're going to get that deal done. I think it's interesting, actually, that if you see sort of a lot of Madrid-based journalists will say they're quite confident, and then there'll be a lot of Manchester City-based journalists who may say, well, the City noises are quite confident. So I think there's...
What do you mean, James? What do you mean? The three most arrogant clubs in the world feel confident about getting Jude Bellingham? That's a shocker.
I think there's just a few games being played in this transfer, and I think Bellingham holds all the aces, and he will have his pick. You would think this summer Dortmund will get a premium price for him, despite obviously he didn't have a great game tonight, but I don't think that'll affect the valuation too much. I think he will go to Liverpool. I did a story for the site a while ago, so just relaying that confidence that Liverpool have. There's a long way to go in that deal, but I do think it's significant that Liverpool didn't rush out and buy a midfielder. They've been very meticulous in not panic buying and waiting for the right player. For example, so sort of flip side of that would be Luis Diaz, who they wanted to wait until that summer to sign him, but they knew Spurs were going for him, so they made their move in January. And they have to, because they don't have the same resources that Manchester City do, or even Manchester United. They're very meticulous and strategic in the way they go about their business. When I look at Liverpool's midfield, I know they won 7 the other day against United, but there's obviously a big gap there between the sort of aging workhorse players of the Milners and the Hendersons, and then the younger generation coming through, and they need someone like a Bellingham. It's got that team has got a Bellingham-shaped hole in it, and it really wouldn't surprise me the amount of work I know they've done on that deal behind the scenes, if they're prepared to accept the sort of short-term pain and the issue that they've got there in midfield, in the knowledge that come the summer, they're going to get the one they really, really want.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I totally agree with both of you per your excellent reporting. And the things that I've been hearing, Jude Bellingham to Liverpool is definitely a project in the making. All right, let's focus back on the winners tonight here, because Chelsea fans are getting angry. When are they not? Here's a question for both of you. Tom, I'll ask you first. Any players in the Chelsea squad, Tom Hamilton, who might be on the fringe of being at Stamford Bridge next season, who might be able to turn things around from now till the season ends? I guess he's asking, or she's asking, is there somebody in the squad? That's it. This is your final, audition for Graham Potter before you might, leave Stamford Bridge in the summer.
It's a good question. I think someone who was linked away a lot in January was Conor Gallagher, and I thought he played really well tonight when he came on. He brought so much sort of a new sort of calm to that midfield when he came on, and really helped win the balance there. So perhaps he could be someone you might see a little bit more of perhaps the rest of the season. But then there's the forgotten man, which is the most bizarre thing to say, but Mason Mount. So if and when he comes back as well. So I think one of those two could really help. I think the way they're sort of playing and pressing quite high, they really suit that system well. So I'm going to go for one of those two, but probably Conor Gallagher, I think, could be someone who could really, really help them for the rest of the season.
James Olley, I'll probably add Christian Pulisic in that line as well. What do you think?
I was just about to do that. Yeah,
sorry, buddy.
That's all right. Back to you. No, I think Mason Mount. Tom makes a good point about Mason Mount in particular. There's obviously a contract issue rumbling along in the background there, and I think his future will come to a head one way or the other this summer. Chelsea, for their part, would very much like to keep him, but Mason Mount wants the sort of numbers that Reece James had when he signed his long-term deal, that he's seen Raheem Sterling come in, and obviously a lot of these new players have come in on big wages. I think Mason Mount feels with the work that he's done and the progress that he's had in the last 2 or 3 years at this club, he deserves to be rewarded in the same way. So there is that rumbling on in the background, and I do think even though he's got another year to come on his deal, that will come to a head in the summer one way or the other. But yeah, Christian Pulisic, I mean, first appearance I think since January the 5th tonight. He would have left, I think, in January had he been fit. Had he not got that injury, Newcastle, I think we're looking at him. Manchester United were offered him at one stage, and I think he was quite open to leaving the club after the World Cup. So I can't see him being here next season. Whether he has enough game time ahead of him to be able to impact it one way or the other, only he can produce that in training to convince Graham Potter. But I think the fact of the matter is that Potter's still searching for his best team. I think it looks as though Felix and Havertz, with the way that they're starting to combine and produce more consistent performances, and obviously if they start scoring, then that's the sort of final piece of the jigsaw. They're going to be hard to dislodge in the team, and it's not as if they've got many competitions to continue in, and really a comfortable situation in the Premier League where they could look to rotate. But Pulisic will get probably the same sort of impact role off the bench that he had under Thomas Tuchel. If he can put himself in the shop window for the summer, that might even be the way they sell it to him and say, look, we know you're thinking about moving. We've obviously signed a lot of attacking players in the last couple of windows. It's in everybody's interest. If you can help us finish positively, you can get a better move. We can finish higher up the table, and everybody parts on good terms.
All right, we are nearly done here, but before James, Olley, and Tom Hamilton leave us and we say goodbye, just two quick things. Our producer here sent us a really lovely quote here, James, Olley. I wanted your take on it regarding the penalty. Obviously, Kai Havertz took it. He hit the bottom of the right post, and then the referee came in for encroachment, and then obviously it was retaken, and Kai Havertz placed it in the same place, but albeit in a better target. Emre Can said it was the referee's fault. Absolutely arrogant on the decision to retake it. What do you make of it, James, Olley?
Well, I think in this day and age now, particularly with VAR, it probably was a penalty, but it does look a little soft to me. That isn't given a year or two ago. It's a modern day penalty, if you like. I can see why the Dortmund players were unhappy about it. I mean, the encroachment, they don't really have a leg to stand on. I mean, there were multiple players in the box at the point at which that penalty was taken. So I don't think that is an issue. But I felt like something like this was coming, to be honest, because at full time they were surrounding the referee and they were complaining, as the officials were walking off. So we're just about to go and speak to the managers now. I suspect that it won't be the only complaint we hear about the referee tonight.
Tom, really quick on it.
Yeah, completely agree with everything James said there. It looked soft. He was about a metre away from Chilwell, who's just hammered a cross straight into him. It's difficult, but it's a modern day penalty, and I can understand why they'd be frustrated with that. And then, again, I mean, there were 5 Dortmund players in the penalty area by the time that Havertz even probably stopped on the first run up. So, yeah, it's the way things are now. So Dortmund have got to get on with it, really.
Yeah, it's what I call the Gen Z penalty. Absolutely right. But anyway, before we say goodbye, tomorrow there's a massive game. And that's PSG. Obviously, we've got Tottenham hosting AC Milan, but we also have PSG traveling to Bayern Munich. So, they're both huge games, obviously, but, for so many reasons, all eyeballs will also specifically be in Germany as well. But let's get the predictions from the boys here before we say goodbye. James, Olley, let me go to you first on both games very quickly. Let's go with PSG Bayern very quickly. What do you expect there?
Well, very quickly, I will say, I think it's tough, isn't it, that PSG game? I think PSG will have enough to go through. Neymar is obviously a massive blow, but I will back them to go through. Spurs, I'm there tomorrow night. I don't know. I should be quick, and I'm conscious that the longer I talk and procrastinate, I'm not being quick and I'm taking too long. I will say Tottenham will go through. I don't think Milan are as strong as they were last season. Interesting. Tom Hamilton, what do you think?
Bayern to go through against PSG. But the big absentee there, obviously Neymar, I think even bigger in terms of the balance of the game for Bayern Munich is Pavard, not being able to play. He's so integral to that whole system. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. I think Spurs will go through against AC Milan.
Well, there you have it. I'm going with a PSG win, and I think Tottenham's going to just about do this in a very Spursy way, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on ESPN FC YouTube. James Olley, Tom Hamilton with Miguel Echegaray. We'll be back tomorrow as well with much more coverage, and of course, every day on ESPN FC. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Till then, bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.